we go. Quiet. I hear breathing. Stop it. Just kidding. Wow. Wow. Anyways, my name is Matthew Marquit. I am one of the teachers, faculty here at UAT. Lynn has asked me to be her voice since she is not as loud as me. So anyways, I just wanted the camera to see me, and I'm going to walk behind it. So anyway, welcome. No, see, they can still hear me either way. Welcome to the Game Project Job Fair, also known as the UAT Game Studios Job Fair, also known as Production Studios Job Fair, also known as what? No booing. Oh, woo. Okay, yeah, I thought you said boo. Anyways, this is part one, I guess technically, or part two if you want to look at it, from the previous semester of two different things that we do, two different events that we have every semester that are part of course, our Production Studios model. So the green light process, right? Last week, or not last week, 2 weeks ago, we had our green light pitches, right? We had the teams that were approved, and then we come in here, and then we have what is known, right, as our job fair, where people choose which team they're going to be on, and also an opportunity for our rogue teams, or basically teams that are not in Production Studios, to also get people to help them, because we like to support all of the teams at UAT, not just the people that are in Production Studios. Okay? But I also just started doing something else I want to call out real quick. In Game 125, we're starting to incorporate, you guys have obviously taken that class, the Introduction to Game Development. Can my Game 125 students stand up? I don't want to embarrass you right now, but can you do that? So I have some Game 125 students here. These are some future developers. Okay, we got them sitting around here. I asked them to come in. We're going to start incorporating this, so here we go. There they are. Everybody say hi to them, be their best friends, Noobs. And so on. Noobs, yeah. Noobs. There you go. You can sit down now. All right, so thanks for showing up, but we're trying to incorporate more, right, of the early class into this. So be on your best behavior, because this is what they think it's all about, right? We don't want to be bad examples. So, anyways, just kidding. I know you guys are great examples. But let's continue on with this. Let me first start by letting Derek Clark. Where's Derek? Did he walk off?
He's hiding.
There he is. He's hiding. So I'm going to let Derek Clark introduce the entire game faculty, so that we know, so that everyone gets a vision of who is who. Because even if we're not the teachers of your classes, we are still helping you guys out. You guys can still help or still ask us questions and so on. So Derek, say something. Do things.
You met Matt.
You did.
All right, let's go in order. So, in order of seniority, hi, I'm Derek. I've been here for 25 years. Next is George.
Lynn.
Is it Lynn? Oh, it is Lynn. Lynn! She hides in the back.
Everyone hides.
Lynn. Lynn teaches game art and animation, and art and some animation, mocap, sculpture. You're not in the sculpture class this summer. So Lynn probably is one of the creators of the studio, so she knows pretty much everything about it. Then it's George, I believe, next. George draws things.
I don't know what
all we can figure out. He claims to have 8 skills, 6 of them being Photoshop. But they're different versions.
6
so
different processes of Photoshop.
I would like to point out that I did all the Photoshop work for graduation, and then I went up and helped Dave on Photoshop. I'm really not sure why George is our Photoshop expert.
Management 101, delegate.
Yeah. George definitely covers a lot of the intro classes and a lot of your early art here, so you're going to see George early on. Then it's Marquit, I believe, is next in order of seniority. Hired as a game designer, so taught himself game design. Our joke for Matt is if I would have been in this interview, he would not be working here. So take that for what it's worth.
It's actually true.
But this is a lesson. We like to teach life lessons in here, and so we use this as an example. Sometimes timing is just as good as anything else. So the story behind that is Matt applied. They ignored him. 8-9 months later, they gave him a call and said, hey, we've got a position open. So he shows up. He gives them the resume. They all go, wow, this looks great. Let's get him in here. It's a game art resume, and they were hiring a game designer. I wasn't around in that process for his hire, and nobody else knew what the hell was going on, so they brought him in. He did a great teaching demo, and they're like, cool, let's bring this guy on. And so they hired him. Then they went to look at this, like, okay, can you teach this class? It's like, I'm an artist. I don't do any of that stuff. But he adapted, and made a place for himself here, which is awesome. So sometimes timing is your best friend, because I can guarantee you, I didn't know him before he worked here. If I would have got his resume, I would have been like, wow, great game artist, next. I would have just moved on. I wouldn't have even gave him an interview. So, welcome, Matt. It's good to have you. Way to be part of the team.
Indeed.
Then we have Hugh Henry, game programmer extraordinaire. Worked as a designer mostly in the industry. So I hired an artist as a designer, so then I hired a designer as a programmer. But again, it kind of does show that when opportunity hits, take advantage of it. You know, if something happens that you want to do, figure out how to make it work. I started as a programmer, moved to a designer, then went admin, the evil side. Back in the back, we have Mark. Probably the newest face, a lot of you may or may not recognize. Started as an adjunct this term, teaching game programming, trying to help Hugh not be crazy. So that's definitely good to have and have him on board. After this term, we're going to try to get him some black clothing so he feels like he's part of our department. Seems to always dress in white. We're not sure why. Other people in the room. Doug is here. And guest.
Daryl's here. Where's Daryl? Daryl's
Oh, Daryl's in the back. Okay, yeah, we thought. So Doug and Daryl are here to launch a new project, Gray Area. Any words of wisdom? 10 words or less?
Yes, so you guys have finally figured it out, right? I like to talk. So my name's Doug Doyne. I worked in the industry pretty much from customer support to producer. I was a producer on Madden. I worked at EA for 11 years. Came out here, worked on a couple smaller companies and whatnot, and Hugh gave us a fantastic opportunity on Reign and Rebellion to bring that in, and that particular group of people right now, I'm actually trying to harvest a couple of them out to Blizzard and Riot. They're talking to them now. So what he said about networking is mission critical. You guys have to, as introverted as we are, as what we are, you have to be able to talk to people and get into their ear and leverage their abilities. You can always hit me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to introduce anybody to anybody I know. So it's Doug Doyne. Look up on LinkedIn. If you don't know, these guys all know how to get hold of me. So, and thank you guys for the opportunity of being here.
Good to have you back.
Thank you.
And Daryl just nodded.
Daryl nods.
Wise words. Awesome wise words. Yeah, networking is king. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So, moving forward. Oh, George.
So to kind of take on what Doug was saying about networking, we once had a meeting and talking about who we knew in the industry, and at some point, all of us had worked with somebody or we went to school with somebody in the game industry. So when you guys look at the game industry from from your side of things, you think of this huge monster thing, right? But when you get in, it's become so small. I mean, I went to school with Max. I didn't even know he went to the same school. Maybe because he was.
I was an upperclassman.
Upperclassman.
Yeah, you were
okay.
just a low
I was a noob.
Yeah.
I was a noob. So, and then another thing, it's like, same thing with Hugh, right? Hugh worked with Doug over at Cheyenne. Now brought him back over here to UAT Game Studios, and now he's working on his second project. So that's how networking works, guys. All right, it's pretty small going in.
Yeah. So, 2 points I want to hit on. You made one, introversion. We are inherently introverted, but I'm an introvert, so I don't talk to people. Is not a valid excuse. In my world, the difference between an extrovert and an introvert isn't that you can or can't talk to people, or you do or don't talk to people. It's how much energy it takes, right? An extroverted person gains energy from social interaction. They love it. They just soak it up. An introverted person expends energy to do that same thing. Doesn't mean you can't do it. I'm an introvert. I get out of here, and I go home and don't leave until the next day I have to come in here. I don't go out and do things and be people. I have no desire. It doesn't charge me up, right? If you ever see me sitting in the commons, if I'm like between classes, I'm half falling asleep. Like for class, I expend so much energy to get into class that, man, I crash after a class. I'll almost take a nap. So keep that in mind. Networking is the other thing you mentioned. So a couple of things that we are going to do / start. First thing, every team, the leads can take care of this or delegate it. By the end of today, you should send me your social media information. I'm going to pin a post to my Twitter accounts that talks about all your Twitter accounts. So make sure you're sending me that information. I'm hoping to have it finished up today. I'm reassigning some roles and fixing some stuff. We are starting the studio Discord server. So I'll be sending that link out hopefully by the end of today if I get everything set up the way I want. And we can actually interact that way as well. If you are struggling with any of that kind of stuff, LinkedIn was mentioned, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, or any of those kind of things, come and find me. I'd be happy to sit down with you and help you get set up. I run them all. I've actually created accounts on like 40 different social media type things over the years. So definitely take advantage of it. Is that what I'm supposed to say, Matt?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right.
All right. So just real quick, we're going to start off with a couple of announcements, and then we'll actually move right into the pitches, and we'll talk about that in a moment. First thing I do want to note, we do have tentatively planned, so my Game 370 class, which is our Game Design Workshop 2 class, we do put on a game jam. So I want you guys to understand we have tentatively planned a game jam for July 13th through the 15th. So we'll make sure that gets nailed down. I want you guys to kind of put that down. That's actually the week after you guys have off. Well, not completely off, but you'll have the 4th, which is a Wednesday, the 5th, which is a Thursday, and the 6th, which is a Friday. You'll have those days off, so you have a super long weekend, right? Just so you guys are aware, that's how it works. And then the week after that, you come back, and we've got this game jam, so you should be refreshed and be awesome and go team go, right? Nothing better to do than a good game jam. So, all right. Now, if there's any other announcements, I'll open it up to any of the other teachers, faculty. Anybody's got anything they want to say? Announcements? George, anything?
Did we introduce Stanley? Is that on the?
Oh yeah, good. You introduce Stanley. Stanley, stand up.
Good job for standing up. Yeah.
Yeah, good job. Give it up. All right. Yeah. Sit down.
Stanley is our new UAT academic tutor. He is extremely knowledgeable in Maya, Photoshop, Illustrator. We'll get him in Max up there and running. All right. But for any artists or any designers, programmers that want to know a little bit about arts or need help in any areas that might be, typical for you guys, Stanley is your guy, and he'll be more than happy to help you guys out with any of your issues. So,
all right. So our new art tutor, Stanley,
available for on ground and online.
Yes.
All right. Cool. You got any announcements? Anything you want to say? Nope. He doesn't. Not at all. Lynn. We're good. Derek.
I always have something.
All right. Derek always has something. So
I'm going to make one little change to Matt's introduction. What he said wasn't incorrect. You will actually, after we do the pitches in here, you will break out and you will go sign up for the game that you want to work on. But Matt made it sound like you sign up for that game and you get to be on the team. It's not how it works. You're going to sign up and show your preference, and we'll absolutely do our best to make that happen. But then you are going to have to talk to that team and earn your way onto that team. They can say no. It's completely within their realm. So it's up to you to make that good impression. It's up to you to pay attention during their pitch. It's up to you to make sure that you can bring value to that team and talk to them about, here's the things I can do, and here's what I want to do, and here's what I want to work on your project, and here's why I love your guys' project. They can say no, and then we move on to a different team. So there's no guarantee. Just because you went and put your name on a piece of paper, you don't just walk away and go, cool, I'm on that team. It was my favorite. We'll do our best, but you better make a good first impression or a good impression overall. So keep that in mind. You are fighting to earn your way onto the team. And if one of the teams gets half the signups, then we're not going to put you all on that team, obviously. So keep that in mind. You're competing now just like you will at any other point in the game industry. And not only are you competing against people who are your peers, you're competing against people who maybe are above you. They're senior to you, right? If you're in the 281, you're competing against the 381 people. It's no different when you go to the game industry. When you go out to the game industry and try to get a job, you're not competing against other graduates. You're competing against anybody who wants to be in the game industry. That can include somebody that's got 10 years of experience and 8 ship titles on you, right? So keep that in mind. Take this very serious. We do this on purpose. I could have just, and if I would have had my way, I probably would have, but thank Lynn for this. Credit/throw her under the bus. I would just line you guys up and put you in a spreadsheet and put you on the team and move forward. People are resources. They don't have feelings. It's the systems designer in me. But no, this is a really, really good opportunity. And when the team said, no, we should do it this way, I backed off of my Excel version. So take it serious and make sure that you are working to get on a team, because there is no guarantee. That being said, also, again, you might not get on the team that you want, but you can bring something to any team here. All these teams that got greenlit, they're going to be quality projects. We're really excited about what we're going to be working on. So there isn't a loss or a bad choice. There's just a difference, right? Obviously, again, we try to match you up. When you're going out there and applying, you're probably going to apply for positions that you would like to get. You know, if you hate RTS games, you wouldn't go apply to all the RTS companies, but don't turn it down. The games that you don't think about, the Rugrats games or the Barbie fashion shows and stuff like that, outsell Call of Duty all the time. They have to hire people. So, experience is experience. All right, now I'm done.
Good.
For this segment.
I've got one.
Oh, Lynn's got some.
Along that same vein, leads. If you knock your pitch out of the park and you're recruiting all kinds of resources, if you can see that you're filling up, then redirect those additional people so they can have a second chance at making sure that you can pick a team that you want to be on. Okay, let's go.
Indeed. Yeah, but there is a lot of truth to the idea that, you know, getting on a project, it almost really doesn't matter in some cases. You're getting that experience. When I first started in the industry, they put me on this project. It was what I thought was the perfect project for me. It was a realistic first-person shooter game, and I'm like, this is exactly what I wanted to do when I got in the industry. And then they took me off and they said, now you're going on to this Cars project, Pixar's Cars. So we're just going to put you on for a couple months. Don't worry about it. We're going to move you back. And they never did. The other game got canceled, and Cars went on to finish and sell 7 million copies. So it worked out for me, right? I didn't think I wanted to work on a kids game. Ultimately, every game I ever worked on in the industry, all 6 games I worked on were all kids games. And it was great, you know, it worked out for me. I can actually say that I worked on games that sold over 28 million copies. And that was because, you know, kids games sell a little bit differently. Sometimes we think, hey, I wanted to do this, and this is the game I like to play. Remember, playing games and making games aren't the same thing, right? And so when you're making a game, you can have just as much passion. It doesn't have to be. In fact, you might have, in some cases, like me, you get sick of the game you work on, so maybe you don't want to like that actual game because afterwards you would want to or not want to play it anymore. So it really doesn't matter. The idea is you guys are getting that experience, and UAT Game Studios is an actual company. You are actually working for a company when you work in these classes, these production studio classes. So we don't just simulate what it is to be a job. This is a job, right? And that's one of the great things about it. So without any further ado, let's start moving ahead into the actual pitches. Okay, and so we're going to do this. This is the format of the pitches. We're going to start with actual production studio teams. You guys are going to have 5 minutes to pitch, and then we'll have like a 2-minute period afterwards to ask questions, right? And then we'll move on to the next team and so forth. Then we'll hit up our rogue teams, right? So the teams that are also looking to find people, artists, designers, programmers, anything they might need, right? They'll say it, same kind of format. They get 5 minutes, 2 minutes of questions, right? And then after the fact, I believe that's all we have, and then we go off and start signing up or interviewing and so on. So let's get started. The first team, yes?
For studio, if you are in the studio classes, you are required to sign up for one of the 7 non-rogue teams. You are more than welcome to also take part in the rogue teams as well, but you can't use those for your studio hours. So your studio hours are required to be in one of the 7 teams that were greenlit. If we don't do that, green light is meaningless. You can just pick whatever team you wanted anyway. So make sure that you are doing that, but it is also a good chance to get another game, you know, in. You guys do have time in your week once you get through our 10 hours. I've seen this email bouncing around as well. Some of the teams offer internships occasionally. We don't have a problem if you're working on an internship and a studio role on a single project. That's absolutely fine, but the hours are separate. The 10 hours you do for studio are studio time, and once you get those in, you still have your internship hours required. So if you're in a 10-hour internship, that means you should be putting, or you will be putting 20 hours a week. You don't get to overlap those. You don't just do 10 hours and then mark it down for both. That's cheating.
Good. So just a quick rehash. Yes, if you're in production studios, you must sign up for one of the teams that are in the production studios. Yeah, and as Derek said, you can sign up also for a rogue team and help them out. Keep in mind that if you sign up for a team, if they need somebody, right, if you can only do a couple hours here and there over the course of the semester, excuse me, they'll take it in some cases, right? Anything we can do to help each other out. You get your names on different projects. You get to learn and network with other people. These are all great things. So as I said before, we don't want to make it seem like just because you can't sign up for a rogue team as your main team doesn't mean we should ignore them too. We want to support them just the same. Okay? All right, so I guess we can now officially start into our pitches. Derek is going to keep telling me I said something wrong. All right, so like I said, 5 minutes, right? I'm going to time you, and then you'll have your 2-minute questions. Remember, you guys, this is a great time to ask questions. If you have a question about a project, probably somebody does also. You help answer those too, so make sure you ask questions here also. All right, so first team, communication meltdown. Yes, Derek?
I have one more thing.
Oh, never mind. Sit down.
Probably, if it happens today, I'm not going to say anything because I didn't give you the warning shot. But one thing that we are going to be spending a whole lot more time paying attention to and calling you guys out on is during these kind of presentations and during your build reviews and during any time that I record you, if you don't own everything that's in your presentation, you are wrong. And this goes to all kinds of different levels. So for instance, if I go to my UAT Game Studios YouTube account right now, and I pull up my copyright tracker, I've got 6 or 7 videos that have a copyright claim against me. Now, it's not a strike, we're not like in danger of losing it, it's just mostly saying, hey, if this is ever monetized, I'm claiming that I own this. And if you go through them, what they all are a presentation. I know that one of them is like from back in the day when we did the RTS, Nick's RTS, what was that one called?
Great War.
Great War. One of them's against Great War because they use copyrighted music in one of their presentations. And YouTube is smart enough that it'll actually say, here's this 2.5-hour video. These 47 seconds are copyright, right? And it'll break it down that far. So it is something we're going to be paying attention to and calling you guys out on. So that means music, imagery, anything. If we catch it, you are going to be in, we'll just say, you're going to have issues with us. So, but you need to start practicing that now because this will get you blacklisted in the game industry, even if you do it not on purpose. I rarely ever see it maliciously done. It's not that. We're not trying to say you guys are horrible people, but I really don't want my YouTube account shut down for one thing, just in case. I mean, they could. These people could actually go. The fact we're not monetizing actually helps in the YouTube verse, but keep that in mind. So today, if I catch it, we'll probably still say something. Not going to be like overly critical today because I didn't make this announcement until you already loaded your presentation up. Now I'm going to buzz you for it, but it is something we're going to be paying a lot more attention to. Not that we haven't in the past. But okay, now I'm going to try.
All right, now Derek's done. No copyrighted material.
Well, we're supposed to start this part at 11, right? So
Yes, but we're trying to go as quick as possible. Yeah, very good. Very good. Derek wanted to get it on time. Communication meltdown. Let's go. Give him a hand.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome Game 125. My name is Austin Harrington. I'm the director for Monster Vault Entertainment and team lead on Communication Meltdown. We ran our first semester of Communication Meltdown this past semester, and so I'd like to take you through some of the stuff that we accomplished last semester, talk about where we're going. To start, what is the game? It's a 4-player co-op puzzler similar to Keep Talking and No One Explodes and Star Trek Bridge Crew. What does this mean? It means that the game is about giving and receiving instructions. We give one player instructions visually. They have to communicate those instructions verbally to 3 other players who have to carry out tasks on behalf of the first player. The game's primary feature is voice chat. We have a very limited scope. There are 3 levels in our game, 3 lobbies, and we're done. We have completed, for the most part, our first area. We're moving into our second area this semester. We're developing on Unity, and we are a VR game, so it's on the Oculus Rift and HTC Vive. I'm going to talk my way through a video here. This is summarizing what we did last semester. You'll get a better idea of how the game works. So when we started the project, it was actually at the Founders Game Jam last year. We created a game called Communication Meltdown. Very simple. It was some combination of Keep Talking and No One Explodes and Guitar Hero. Well, again, about instructions. We created a really beautiful environment here. and got greenlit. And so we put together a team at the beginning of this year and started working on a new environment. This is a reactor environment you're going to see throughout the video. It was a great start. So we wanted multiplayer in right away. We wanted to work on our core gameplay loop. And so you can see one player is seeing instructions. They're verbally communicating those to another player who is pressing buttons that correspond with those instructions. From there, we started working on our local movement system. This is Final IK is a plugin that we're using to create this. The game is all about being social, and so we want people doing the YMCA. We want people dabbing in our game. Those things that are really fun. We've started working on tech art, and so you can see we've got some particle effects, we've got some shaders that we're working on. That's something we're going to continue to work on over the course of this semester. Once we started getting in our art assets for our interactables, we started getting those in, and so you can see we've got a ton of different assets that you can interact with in different ways that'll all correspond to things that you will be told by the player that is giving instructions. Also, every good multiplayer game needs a lobby, and in VR, it's very important to offer a lot of gameplay within that lobby. And so, as you can see, we've created an employee lounge, locker room, and bathroom area for our reactor. We've got a bunch of stuff in there. So one of the things that we found is really exciting about VR is just throwing stuff at your friends. It's in this case, washing your hands or playing darts or interacting with the environment in interesting ways and being rewarded for it by having different pieces of gameplay that are actually structured for it. Another thing that we're working on is comedy. We've done really well with creating a funny feel for our game. We've got a bunch of notes. We've got a character named Dave the Engineer who's causing chaos within the office. We've got all kinds of stuff that we're working on right now with that. Moving forward, we're looking to complete that reactor environment. Right now we have a core gameplay loop. We've got a really beautiful environment. What we don't have is the particle effects that we want. So when the reactor is about to blow up, you've got sparks, right? You've got moving lights. You've got loud alarms. You've got all this stuff. That's the stuff we want to get in this semester for that reactor environment. We are working on a new themed level. It'll be a clockwork steampunk type thing. That's something that we'll be working on throughout the semester. We are polishing the gameplay loop, which I kind of already talked about with adding in the more exciting elements of the gameplay. Interactivity in the game lobby, that's picking stuff up, that's washing your hands, that's shaking up soda cans and throwing them as weapons, that kind of thing. Menu system and UI, and we want to iterate on our fun factor. We have a really cool core gameplay concept. The thing about creating an unstructured communication-based game is you do have to tweak it so that the gameplay is more structured than just talking to each other. And so we've got a great start, but we're going to continue to tune that until we feel it is as fun a game as we would want to pay for upon release. I'd like to talk a little bit about Monster Vault. So we are an alumni studio founded by Michael Densmore. Any teacher, any professor in this room will tell you he's one of the finest art students we've ever had at the school. He's one of the best bosses I've ever had. We started developing a game called Call Center Simulator last year. Mike saw it. He was so impressed that he brought us into Monster Vault, and we developed with Monster Vault. We've worked on a bunch of projects since then. We've actually got a couple products that I cannot announce today, but will be announced this semester. What we kind of focus on is mentorship and educational opportunities. So we've developed some of the best students, I would say, at the school over the course of the last year. We'll continue to do that. And we developed some of the best portfolio pieces that I've seen at the school. So this video is one that we are releasing later this semester. Hopefully, we are finishing up now. We have our Steam store. It will be a free game that you can play before the end of the semester. It's called Gigablast. It was developed at the Global Game Jam. So follow us online. We do have our all of our social media here. And good luck with your pitches, guys. Yay!
That are thinking about potentially interviewing with Communication Meltdown.
I actually have a point that I should say that I didn't say in this that I totally forgot. We have staffed for this semester. There is a chance that we bring on someone else. We are not planning to. Come talk to us if you're really interested in the project or if you'd like to work on it in some capacity outside of the studio. But we want to make sure that students can work on games that the newer teams can staff. So talk to us if you're interested, but we are not currently planning to hire it on anyone that we haven't already talked to.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
So we have Siege Bots next.
Hello, I'm Todd Dickinson. I'm the project lead for SiegeBots. It's kind of a video showing what we've accomplished since we've joined the studio. It's pretty simple stuff. Oh, this mouse seems off.
It is.
Okay. So basically what we've done the last semester is a lot of UI work and things of that nature, trying to get the gameplay usable for the average player, so that they can, play the game in an easy manner without needing to know how to program things like that, which is a common barrier to entry to AI, things like that. Our current plans for the semester are outlined in the green boxes, but that's really hard to see, so I'm just going to explain what it is. We're going to focus on more of the world building aspects, different scenarios, levels, things of that nature for Siege bots, and continue working on our bots, creating different bot pieces and things like that. So what we need is artists. We need concepts, primarily for our Kickstarter campaign that we're launching later this month. UI, low poly models for the bot pieces and environments, and textures. So our 3D art style is kind of just low poly with gritty sci-fi textures. Designers, we need some level designers, systems designers, and especially UI and UX designers. If you want to do any UI, almost anyone will take you, but think about Siege bots a little bit. Yeah. Programmers, looking for object-oriented programmers that have experience with event-driven programming. If you have experience with asset bundles, that's great. I'm going to try to look into some cool new features. As extras, we kind of need a community manager to handle our social media, audio engineer so we can start getting that audio feedback loop, and a technical artist for visual effects. Thank you. Siege bots. You can follow us on social media, and that's about it.
And you used half the time.
Any questions?
Do you have any questions for Todd, Siege bots? Wow, you guys just know everything. This is awesome. All right, cool. Now, next is Looters of the Arcane. Demand.
Why does Todd have to be tall? There we go. Now it has the top half of my head. Hello everyone, I'm Regis Jerry. I am the production lead for Looters of the Arcane. It is a game where you traverse time, you fight when you can, you run when you can't. What exactly is Luda? It is a survival horror game where your objective is to get inside the building, get inside the area, secure an arcane object, and then get out alive. And where we started off at is we started off in an asylum. With this asylum, we wanted to create more of a maze inside of this, but each level will have its own way that the player interacts with the environment. We are SIP approved. What we are doing with our SIP is it's true PvE. What that means is that we're going with the environment actually acts as its own entity. So the player's interaction with it can be positive or negative, and it's based off of what the player is doing with the environment. This is very programming centric with how we're doing this, but also we are intermixing some art styles with that. And the main thing that we're trying to do this semester is 4-player co-op. That is what the original GDD calls for. That's what we're trying to get, is that 4 players can enter this environment, and that's what most of the actual design is working to accomplish, is the ability to scare 4 people simultaneously, where a lot of games end up not actually accomplishing this because when you're with friends, you tend to not be as scared. What we need mainly is artists. The main reason for this is because this is a lot of set design. When you're trying to create a story of what's going on in an environment, you need art to be able to actually showcase that. And then for the designers, we already have 1 level designer, so we're looking to bring on somebody that's good with documentation and UI design. For programmers, I know that a lot of people, when I was looking at the list that were interested in the project, were programmers. We're only looking to bring in about 3 programmers for the project, because Fred is currently the lead programmer, and with that, Fred's a pretty awesome programmer if anybody knows him. So we'll end up being able to work well And then anybody that knows how to do sound, because the game currently has none. And I would like to be able to, and sound is one of the main aspects when you're making a game that ends up actually frightening a person. So what's next? We're taking it to ancient Egypt. That's going to be the level that we're working on the most. And then once we end up getting done with this, so that's going to be like you're going to have mummies chasing you. You're going to have sandstorms coming in randomly, depending on what you do with the environment. And then so that's all going to be programming, mixed in with a little bit of art. And then we're going to take it to the future. So the entire point of the game is that you're traveling through time. So you have to have a point where you would end up going back in time from, and where better than in the future. So with this is going to be an environment that's a hub world. This is going to be where the player starts out, and this is going to be for a designer to go in and try to create an environment that can work as a tutorial zone that's safe, but also teaches all the mechanics that are in the various regions. And if anybody's looking to join, thank you for your consideration.
Any questions for Jerry? Nobody likes questions. All right, cool. Next team is Life or Death. Let's give him a hand.
The best logo. For those of you who don't know me, I'm James. This game is life or death, you know?
I don't lift the camera up.
Oh, no, nah, just my chest. Yeah. Top dad, Roger. What is life or death? It's a multiplayer fighting game where the goal is to gain renown competing in the Grand Coliseum. You know, the whole point of the game is just to fight your friends and just really show who's better. Oh, he's doing it. You know, the feel we're shooting for is old-timey realistic, that like rustic type feeling, you know? Right here is a video of some of the animations and like the controller's already set up and how the controller works and everything. I don't know if that's going to work. And the goal is to fine-tune this and get it nice and crisp, because as you can see, he's starting to float and everything. We're not using root motion. This is and is that the next one? The next one is the multiplayer is already set up too. We just want to fine-tune that, refine that, and everything. I don't know why the videos aren't loading, but whatever. Oh, there it goes. So, took me a second to set it up, so I'm going to sit here quietly and awkwardly. But the multiplayer right now is set up to go up to 10 people. We are using Photon and everything, so every programmer that does come on board will be able to get a chance to work on Photon and get, you know, your hands on some multiplayer and learn how to mess with that. It's about to connect right now, I think, or it stopped. I don't know. Here's the snap. So who we need is 2 more programmers, 1 more 3D artist, and 2 designers. Why should you join? Well, you'll get to work with multiplayer, which is, you know, just a great way to learn something new, because I know no one really touches it here. And as for artists, when I say working with different art, I mean realistic art. So you'll have that, like, to me, a great portfolio piece and be able to put that in there. And also helping each other grow, just really like pushing everybody to work as hard as they can and get as much as they can done, and just, you know, really helping each other strive. The goals for this semester are setting up player, and when I say player, not just that character, but also the cosmetics as in armor and weaponry, also the Coliseum. As for programming, setting up the renown system and the level in editing. That's pretty much everything. Is there any questions or concerns that I can address? No. Okay. Cool beans.
All right. Gray area is next.
All right. So, who knows what happened around the late 40s in Roswell, New Mexico? Anybody? I know none of you guys were alive.
Gray area.
This is a gray area. So basically, in theory, alien spaceship crashed. All the aliens died. Well, we discovered like one didn't. So the idea behind this game is his story. How does he get back home? It is going to be an RPG kind of survival-esque type deal. We are going to be building a vertical slice that can get us to a Kickstarter. We recently, basically, we finished, well, actually, let me talk about this video. So while we were on Reign and Rebellion, I took a stab at doing a mini game jam. And what I told him is, I gave him that first photo you saw, and I said, build that scene in 24 hours. And this is what they came up with. My partner Daryl had to kind of rein me in a little bit, because I was like, oh yeah, and then make him do this, and make him do. I'm the king of feature creep. That's why Daryl's here. So they did this in 24 hours and gave us a baseline to say, hey, we could actually do this. So there is some rough gameplay there. We have pretty much all of our systems fleshed out, but we kind of need more depth to it. And I want to give the opportunity to, you know, design. What the one thing I learned from Reign and Rebellion is let you guys do your thing, you know, because that's why you're here. Go ahead to the next one. So I already talked about who we are. We actually, Reign and Rebellion was done from scratch by hand. It had Photon and PlayFab, so talk to me afterwards. For what you're doing, PlayFab would actually really work real well, and they integrate together really easily. You get a lot of free for that. We're almost ready for crowdfunding right now. We're going into the realm of public play testing. I have about 30 to 40 guys that are going to be hammering on this thing and doing stuff for us, in gray areas next. Opera Skunk is basically our LLC. It's the idea of kind of me and Daryl getting together and just creating an area where, you know, I was thinking about this morning, where we can bring people like you there. What I do know about the game industry, and a lesson that was just taught to one of my previous guys, is, you know, Riot, they love to see the resumes, but the first thing they ask is, what have you done? Right? So things like this can help you with that conversation. And so doing these projects and getting, you know, things under your belt, it's going to be a big deal. So if you guys have any interest in this, please let us know outside. We love to talk to you. We need everything. You know, and I will reiterate, UI and UX, if you are an artist and you want to get your mark put on the world, learn UI and UX, because nobody here does that. We learn the hard way. So in Reign and Rebellion, it is very difficult to get UI and UX. So think about that. You'd probably be a champion. You know, everybody would love you. So anything on that list that you guys want to come to us with, more than happy. We do internships. Garrett is about to find out that that's going to be a little bit different than working in the studio. So I appreciate, Derek, that you mentioned that they stack, because I think that was a missed message last semester that unfortunately those guys learned the hard way. So, and if you guys, I mean, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, no, I didn't think anybody would.
Yeah. I'm also going to throw there. I'm Donald Cheffis. I'm the team lead.
Oh.
Something I want to throw out real quick is something that we're going to be focusing on a lot this semester is getting down to using pure Scrum. A lot of the times we always end up using, you know, Scrum with some modifications. But Doug here is a certified Scrum Master, and we're going to be trying to do this on the dot, on the money, as much as we can to the exact way Scrum is supposed to work. So if you want a very, you know, stringent, this is how it's going to be environment as far as Scrum is concerned, we're a great opportunity for that as well.
Please don't let that scare anybody in here.
I'm not sure you're selling it there.
Right? Don't. I mean, look, I'm a Scrum evangelist, right? I've been in it for 4 years. It's a perfect fit for the gaming universe. The universe itself doesn't like the idea of change very well. I'm telling you, if you guys get into this agile mindset, you will crank out product like no one's business. I'm working for a company right now, and I'm trying to help them get over the hump. So the only other thing I'm going to tell you guys is the word commitment. That word right there is everything to me. If you say you're going to give me 10 hours, give me 10 hours. If you don't want to give me 10 hours, that's cool. There's other projects out there for you. So if you're not willing to commit, then this is not going to be where you want to be. My expectations are high as far as commitment. You know, that's the key to everything. And that's about as life lesson-y as I'm going to get. The industry wants you to commit, so.
But to note on that, as much as you commit to us, we're committing to you. We will make sure that you learn the things that you need to do to succeed, but you got to meet us at that halfway point.
Awesome. Pretty good. I'd stop the time.
Oh man, I was hoping to hit a record. I usually don't.
Yeah. I don't know. You could have went over 5 minutes. I don't know. All right. Awesome. All right.
prepare to be disappointed. Okay. Nope, that's not it. Okay. So, at first, I'm going to apologize to Derek. Derek, I'm sorry. I tried to get as much of the uncopyrighted content off this thing as possible. So,
You're
yeah.
doing that on your phone in between the other presentations.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, hello, everybody. My name is John. If you didn't already know. Actually, you probably didn't. Anyway. I'm the lead designer for Dawn of the Dreadnoughts. What is it? It's an RTS game that takes place on 2 massive dreadnoughts. So think of like a Super Star Destroyer or a ye old space galleon, which we'll talk about that later. The player's goal basically is to support the dreadnought in its fight against enemy dreadnoughts. So there are 2 dreadnoughts fighting each other, and you are saying, hey, I'm going to help my dreadnought so it doesn't sink. So game ends when one of the enemy dreadnoughts has been destroyed. The cool thing about this game is that it both supports either a defensive or offensive playstyles, meaning that the player can either focus on defending his dreadnought or attacking the enemy. One good example was there was a game called Battlefield 2142 Titans, but except that was more FPS, where this is an RTS. That's where I was supposed to have images, but I deleted them. The game space. The game is played on 2 massive dreadnoughts that are constantly shooting at each other with the intent to kill one another. All right? The dreadnoughts will also react to what is happening and will do things that will increase its chance of survival. Yeah. This is regardless if it helps the player or not. Dreadnoughts. So, pretty simple. They're massive ships with massive engines, massive weapons, decks that allow areas for construction, auxiliary systems that allow the player to customize the dreadnought's weapons and capabilities to a degree, and very angular and rigid hulls with massive guns. More deleted images. Style guide. So these ships are massive. So just to give you kind of an idea of the scale, this is a Star Destroyer, but a dreadnought. Yeah. Style guide, what I'm going for. So, as you can see, with these ships, they've got these massive engines that I was talking about, and they've got nice little flat tiered decks. That's kind of what I want my dreadnoughts to look like, but not, because I can't. And yeah, just the whole tiered deck stuff. UI. So, I put a lot of thought into what I want the UI to look like. A big problem with a lot of RTS games is that I feel that the UI just takes up too much game space, whereas you take a game like Age of Empires, that UI takes up half the screen. All right. Then take a game like, what's it called? Oh, Planetary Annihilation, where it's got a more minimalistic UI, but you have all that game space to really play and experiment. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Mechanics, core systems, just to TLDR this is basically one of the ways that the player is able to interact with the dreadnought. By destroying these systems, you can essentially hurt the enemy dreadnought to where it is less effective than yours. Mechanics, auxiliary systems, this is a mechanic that allows the player to build these structures on their dreadnought, which they don't have control over, but they can still choose, and sort of augment how their dreadnought behaves. Is it a SIP? Short answer, yes. Innovation. It's an RTS game where the very map you play on is an entity. This entity being the dreadnought. Dreadnought has stats, takes damage, and fights. Unity. So this is actually the 3rd time that I've switched engines, all before Production Studio. Why the switch? Simple. It's easy for programmers. Dawn of the Dreadnought is a very programming-heavy game, and so I thought, well, you got to support the programmers. Plan. So the plan is to get a playable build with at least 1 dreadnought, while at the same time allowing the player access to a few auxiliary systems, get the core mechanics playable, and give the player 1 or 2 units they can play with.
30 seconds.
The team, me, and actually a guy that I just recruited last night. He doesn't have an official title. He just is on the team as more of a resource / design help. Who I need? I need 3D and UI artists, programmers, preferably C#, designers for in-engine work and balancing and testing. Why work for my team? Well, it's a SIP, the chance to work with an RTS, and I spelled going wrong, and yeah.
Great way to end. Who's got a question?
Questions?
Hakeem has a question.
Hakeem?
So what engine is this being worked in?
Unity.
Any other questions? Oh, a couple hands went up. Oh my gosh, what's happening?
Derek?
I don't have a question.
Oh.
I just want to say a thing. I want to give you props. This is the first time you've pitched this and presented it that I understood what the hell you were talking about.
Oh, wow.
In all seriousness, one of the growth areas that we do want to help you guys with is communication. And John has pitched this to me probably 2 or 3 times in SIP and a couple of times in studio. And when we talk to you one-on-one, we always go like, wow, this is awesome. We know exactly what you want to make. And then you get up there and I don't know what happens to your brain, but you go off on these weird tangents and you get done at the end and you're like, I have no idea what you were talking about. But this was good, man. You were concise. You got to the points that mattered. So good job. I just want to give you props because you've come a long way from some of the early ones. So that's great.
And there's another question.
I don't have a question other than a couple suggestions, and that is that dreadnoughts, you got dreadnoughts in space. I was in the Navy for 20 years. We deal a lot with ships, so there are ways of jury rigging things. So if you don't fix it right necessarily, you just jury rig it to get it running for your systems. Also, there are things that, and I can get you in touch with people from damage control on the ships, so they might be able to give you some insights on how to do damage control if you're interested in making it somewhat realistic.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Thank you.
Good. Nice.
Any other questions? Thanks.
All right, next up is Secretaries in Space.
Oh.
I'm setting up that pity.
Secretaries on Dreadnoughts. In Space.
Alright, this is Tia, she is our product lead, I am the Scrum Master.
I'm very quiet, and projecting requires a shit ton of energy from me, so
Thank you.
I don't even know if you all heard that.
So, Secretaries in Space, what it is, it's a close quarters combat brawler. So it has shooter mechanics, but the matches are going to be styled in like capture a flag format, but instead of capturing objectives, you're going to be capturing resources. One of the additions we're going to have is a addition of a third team. So you're going to be fighting with your team against another player team and then against an AI team. So the AI will start with essentially all the resources, like one will be like caches of fuel to get your starship running. Whoever has the most resources at the end will essentially win the map. So you'll go into the enemy base and try to fight your way past the enemies and then steal the resources. If you're not careful, the other team can essentially be an ally or an enemy, because while you're fighting the AI, they could be coming into your base and stealing your resources. So we're going to also have dynamic levels. That way, when let's say one of our maps is going to be an aquatic research base, so let's say we have a top layer and then a bottom layer. The bottom layer will say gets cracked, water starts flowing in, now that's a kill zone. And now you have to rearrange your attack pattern. That way you can only use the tops, and then sometimes you can go, as the water drains, you can go back in through the bottom. And it's going to be a lot of resource management, because you're going to want to see, well, if I keep people to defend the base, are you going to go all out to try to steal resources or try to steal resources from the AI team? So what we're looking for is we're looking for a few more artists, more programmers that are fluent in C#. We're going to be using Unity to run our game. This is some of the concept art we want our environments to be bit more realistic. But our secretaries essentially are going to be our main characters. They're going to be from different timelines, so we can have a lot of different varieties. They're not going to be one set art style, and they're going to be a bit more cartoonish or video game-ish, if you prefer. There's going to be a lot of different variety of weapons. For example, one of the secretaries is a teacher, so one of their abilities might be using 2 chalkboard erasers to make a snow cloud and things like that. So we've got a lot of different levels that we're coming up with. We just need help. We've got a pretty core team right over here, but we're always looking for more people. Anything you want to add?
Okay, so again, our main focus this semester will be working on the AI team and getting it functional, like more than what we have currently. Right now it's just attack and defend. It's switching between states, but we do want it to be able to do more as far as going to like the secretary bases and taking their resources and just moving around. So that's our biggest thing, is just getting programmers. We are working in Unity and we are using C#. Become a secretary today and follow us on Twitter.
Thank you guys.
I hope you heard me.
Questions? Cool. No. All right. Cool. So that actually concludes the green light projects themselves. So we're going to move on to rogue teams. I don't know if Lynn has something she wants to say since she's walking up there.
Actually, all of our rogue teams have not confirmed with us, and I don't see a couple of the leads. They're pretty solid teams at this point.
Well, I know Marcos.
However, Marcos, you need some new recruits. Come on up and join us. Do you have your pitch materials loaded? Give them a hand. All right.
Hopefully this thing doesn't crash again. Okay, my name is Marcos Escobar, and I am here to possibly recruit some people for my SIP project, Rift Wars. Currently, I am in the 3rd and final series within SIP, and right now it is fully prepared for SIP. It has been accepted and will be going into the SIP fair this semester. So what is Rift Wars? Rift Wars is a digital strategy card game where you have 2 players competing against one another to eliminate your opponent's general card. The platform will be PC, and the engine that I want to use for the game is Unity, because most games that I've researched use Unity in terms of card games at the very least. And here's the video of course. Luckily I prepared this time. Wrong one. Okay, so currently I have the game fully integrated into Tabletop Simulator. I've managed to get most of the current elements of the game within the engine. So basically the short rundown of the rules of Rift Wars is that you have 2 players that use a faction set of cards that utilize a 3-deck system. The 3-deck system breaks up the 3 major card types, which are the unit cards, the territory cards, and the equipment cards. Unit cards are your soldiers, your mercenaries, and your heroes. They will fight your opponent's unit cards and are given the ultimate task of killing your opponent's general card. Your territory cards act as your resources. They will give you boons. They will give your unit cards upgrades and provide you with more resources that you can use to dominate your opponent. Your equipment cards offer upgrades, permanent and temporary, such as multiple attacks, increased health, drastically changing the way your cards work within the framework of the game. So all these cards are meant to work as independent factors within the game itself, but mastering your ability to utilize all 3 card types is going to be your ultimate challenge and goal in order to beat your opponent within the game. In order to summon unit cards, territories, and equipment cards, you have to purchase them using resource tokens that you gain each round in the game. You start off with 1 token the first round, 2 the second, 3 the third, and so on and so forth. You can earn more tokens by using different equipment cards and territory cards and so on and so forth. Some unit cards might even give you resource token bonuses if you manage to find them while you're playing. So once again, your ultimate goal is to eliminate your opponent's general card in order to claim dominance. Okay, so the art style that I want to go for is 2D, but the overall art style isn't a set thing for the game. I want this to be a project where people can take an idea and just run with it. It can be cartoonish, it could be hyper-realistic if you want to. I want this to be a project where it's meant to be a portfolio piece for the artist. I want you to have the freedom and liberty to make artwork that you feel compelled by, and also you can show off in your portfolio to other people. So right now I have the prototype cards done, I have the rules done, I have the GDD done, I have the full integration in Tabletop Simulator, I have a public test build on Tabletop Simulator on the Steam Workshop available for anyone to use, and of course it's also SIP approved. What I want to get done, at least this semester, is have the finalized versions of the starting faction cards ready to go. Function, game engine.
Fellow Tropicans, thanks to me, Tropico is an undisputed paradise. But the values of our paradise are now being threatened by populists and despots. I, El Presidente, will prevent this. I accept the nomination for another presidential term.
I want there to be just constant changes to the cards, health, and so on and so forth.
I will make Tropico even greater, even bigger, and even better.
Thank you for your consideration. Yes.
So, like, what would these programs need to know? Like, what language would they need to actually support this?
I believe C++ is what Unity uses. C#. C++ was the other thing.
Yeah, it's Unreal. Yeah. There you go. Any other questions? All right, cool.
Excellent.
I don't know if anybody else showed up. I don't think we have anybody else.
Open
Any
floor.
other rogue?
Got
teams?
SIPs.
Open floor. Need somebody.
Anybody recruiting?
Going. All right, screw you. All right. So, all right. So thanks. You guys did a great job with your pitches. You guys stayed in time for the most part, unless your name's Austin. And I thought they looked really good. As if I was a student sitting here, I'd be like, man, I don't know which one I want to work on. There was so many awesome choices, and once again, I really would hope somebody would support Marcos also, knowing that he is a rogue guy. He's not in the production studios, but he definitely has a great game idea. He's a great guy to work with, so I do once again recommend you support him too, just the same. But anyways, I guess I'll turn the time over to Lynch. You can close it out, and go team, go.
All right, excellent job, everybody. Give yourselves a hand. All right, before we break, just a quick reminder, if you're enrolled in the Game Studio courses, you need to be on a green light team. Thank you, Donald.
She's doing that on purpose.
All right. Also, for students that are enrolled, your goals today are to get up and running with the Axosoft account, with the Slack account, Discord, any other communication tool that your team is using, and get your tasks for the week. Don't be late to our evening session at 4:30. Everybody is due back in here for a double check. Leads, we're going to see you. We want to give you a couple of hours with your team, so we'll meet at 1:30 to 2. Keep it really short. But we do have online recruits to distribute as well, so we'll see you then.
You want to talk about the deadline for Axosoft?
Right. Right, I think everybody probably got my email last night. If you didn't, get your Axosoft work done because they are shutting down at 5. So don't wait till 5, just get whatever you need to be doing your tasks, distributed, your signups before, say, about 4:30 when you come back in here. That should be done. They're down from 5 to 6. It doesn't mean they'll be back up at 6, but just be aware that they're shutting down for upgrades. All right, leads, we'll see you at 1:30.
Twitter accounts on your phone, make sure you tweet out from the right one during the presentation.
Okay.
And how many places are we going to sign up?
1. You're going to sign up for 1, but again, keep in mind that if you see a long list, if you're an artist, you see many artists signed up for that project already, go ahead and go on to your second choice. You're going to have a better chance of getting on a team that you really want to contribute to if you do that yourself. Any other questions before we go? All right, questions and answers. Teams you're going to be recruiting out at the tables, look for the sign. Any team name that is in green out there for your reservation for your table, that's a green light team, and go for it.